So just so you all know, this is being recorded. So we want to be able to send you the recording afterwards and make sure you can rewatch and repeat this recipe. But just keep in mind that we are recording and sharing with the rest of the participants. So if you don't want your face to be in it, you can turn your camera off. We love to see what you all are doing. So we'd love if you feel comfortable to keep it on. And so you can show us how things are going as you're baking, and we can help answer questions and things like that. So to get us started, first I wanted to say welcome and also happy Hanukkah to those who are celebrating today and this weekend. I'm Kelly from Culikid, for those who don't know me yet. And I just want to let you guys all know a little bit about Culikid if you don't know us yet. We are a nonprofit and we provide healthy culinary programs like this and for individuals of all abilities. So our programs, we try to teach healthy eating habits as well as social and independence skills. For this webinar, everyone, you'll notice you're on mute. There are a lot of us today, so that's why we just want to minimize background noise. If you have a question, feel free to use the chat button, the chat feature, which I see some have already done, which is great. So to get started with that, actually, we love to do a little bit of a practice in the beginning. So can you all write in your names to introduce yourselves to everybody? And if you want, you can include what your favorite thing is about the winter. So go ahead and share that all in the chat. I also want to let you know that our next class that we're offering for everybody will be in January. We will send more details in the beginning of January with registration links. We also do have a special teen class tomorrow that's happening in partnership with the JCC. It is a paid class, and for teens. So if you are a teen and want to attend, you're welcome. And I'll send that registration link in the chat as well. That's going to also be cookies. So if you're in a cookie baking mood and want to keep on going, we're making snickerdoodles tomorrow. And then the last thing that I'll say before we really get started is that if you're cooking with someone at home, if you guys take pictures of your cooking process, we love to see how it's going on the other end. We love to see the finished product. So please share those pictures with us, either on social media, and I'll give you those links to tag us, or you can email them to us. All that will be in the chat. I just want to see what's going on in here first. To see what everybody is saying. Okay, so there's a few questions about the recipe, which I'm gonna turn over to Chef Jazz when we get started. So Allie says favorite thing is snow, wind, snow. My favorite thing is mac and cheese. That's from Kate. Stacy's from New York, loves snow. Okay, lots of snow lovers, awesome. Heather sitting by the fireplace. Favorite thing is going to school. My name is Kaya, and my favorite thing about winter is cookies and hot chocolate and eggnog. Ooh, so many good things. Ariana, favorite part is winter is getting my Christmas tree. So fun. And Laura says favorite thing about winter is going for walks. So cool. Welcome everybody. It was so great to get to know you all a little bit through those questions. So Jazz, just so you know, we have a couple of questions about the recipe. One is, what is a substitute for cardamom? And also, how come this recipe doesn't have eggs? And before I let you answer, I also see somebody has asked, where are you located? Which was to me. And so I and Chef Jazz and Culikid in general is based in New York City. We're so happy though to be doing virtual programming though, so we can be cooking with people all over.
I meant to ask, like, what's the address? Because I don't know where you guys are. Like, what's the address?
So Culikid doesn't have an actual address because we work out of other spaces. And right now, like probably most of you, I'm actually in my home. So that's an address that you wouldn't know. But I'm in New York City. Where are you?
I'm in Queens.
Queens. Okay, I'm in Manhattan. Awesome. And I know we have some people from all over the country as well, so it's really cool that we can all be together. And then lastly, I see hi Maddie and Mom Laura, and that Theodore says that he likes snow, so awesome. And now I'll turn over to you, Jazz, if you want to answer those questions to get us started, or answer them throughout.
Sure. So if you do not have cardamom, you can either omit it, or You can grab some, if you have a pumpkin spice mix. Pumpkin spice mix is pretty much cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, some allspice. If you have a mix in your house, you can use that. You can substitute with a little bit of allspice if you would like. Or you can take your cookie to a spicy route. Apologies for my heater. And you can use maybe a little bit of cayenne or a chili powder if you want a little bit of heat. So those are your substitute options for cardamom. You can omit, you can do a pumpkin spice, you can do anything that's in the pumpkin spice. We're already using the ginger, we're already using cinnamon. You can use the allspice or a little bit of nutmeg if you would like. You can do, or you can go the spicy route with the cayenne or a chili. And then to answer the second question, why are we not using eggs? This is a vegan recipe. So usually in a classic cookie recipe that uses an egg, the egg is the binder. But in this case, we're using the molasses as our binder. So did that answer your questions?
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Allie.
Yes.
Allie, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Can I use cinnamon and nutmeg instead of cardamom?
Yep. And then I will remember to tell you the measurement for the nutmeg, okay? And Kelly, please remind me in case I forget. So
Sure.
we should have our butter melted. You can pop that into the microwave or onto the stove. Perfect. I see Henry's melting butter right now. Also, if you are going to go straight into the oven, then you want to preheat your oven at 350 degrees. So I'll give you all a moment to do those two things and then we can get started. Looking good?
Just quick question. My daughter wants to know, do we need to put like butter or anything on the baking sheet or parchment paper or anything?
No, you won't need to put butter on. You won't need to butter the parchment at all. That'll be fine.
Do I use parchment or just a regular pan with?
You would want to use the parchment so it doesn't potentially stick. Yeah, if you don't have parchment, then you can go without, but it's just going to be a little bit more annoying potentially to clean.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you have a sill pad, sill pads are great. Any other questions before we get started? We look ready. Kate looks ready.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with our flour. We need 2 cups of flour, of your all-purpose flour. If you're using gluten-free flour, you need 2 cups. And when you're measuring flour, this is the ideal vessel to measure your flour in, not those other measuring cups. So I'm starting with 2 cups of flour, and I'm going to scoop from my bag right into my vessel. This is 1 cup. That's perfect. And 2. This is actually a more accurate measure if you do it this way. If you don't scoop it in, it packs a little bit more, which is not as accurate, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have a scoop. So we have 2 cups of flour going in. Just go over here. And this is all going in your medium bowl. So you should have 2 different size bowls. They could be the same size, but your smaller bowl, if you have 2 different size bowls, is what you're using right now. All of the this first step is going into this same medium-sized bowl. Yeah, that looks good, Kate.
Okay, and I'm also, just as we're going, adding the measurements into the chat. I just added the first one, but just in case you miss something, it will be in the chat. And then also you can just ask us to repeat it if you need it.
Okay, are we ready for our next steps?
I think it looks like it to me. Is everybody ready?
Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our baking soda. We're going to double check to make sure it's not expired. And we're going to measure up 2.5 teaspoons of baking soda. And what's fun here is now we can practice a little bit of math. 2.5 teaspoons. I'm going to do
2.5 teaspoons. The recipe says 1 teaspoon.
2.5.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. We actually had miscommunication with that between Jazz and I, and I'm going to send you all the updated recipe tomorrow. That's the only change from the written recipe. So 2.5 teaspoons. It's worth noting we've made them both ways. I made it with the 1 teaspoon. Jazz has made it with the 2.5 teaspoons, and they both work. But we're going to do the 2.5 for today.
The 2.5 seems like a lot. Right now, this is where the science is coming into our baking. The purpose of baking soda is to make our cookie rise. We want a nice, fluffy, chewy, delicious cookie, right? And once it reacts with our acid, the acid in this case is our molasses, that will be achieved. So some cookie recipes need baking soda and baking powder. This one only needs the baking soda.
Baking soda, 2.5 teaspoons. Maybe you changed. How can I put teaspoons? 2.5.
Are we ready for our next ingredient?
Okay, does everybody have their baking soda in? Thumbs up if we're ready. I see some showing bowls. It looks like we are in. Just so you all know, if you are new to our classes, this is what we typically do to make sure we're all ready to move on to the next step. If I happen to miss one of you, because I'm trying to look at a lot of the screens at once, and I say we're ready to move on and need more time, just let me know, either unmuting or in the chat. Okay, go ahead, Jess.
The next ingredient we're going to use is our cinnamon. So 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon.
And that's another thing in the recipe. It says 1/2 tablespoon, but that's actually the same as 1.5 teaspoons. So it's just a little bit easier in case you don't have a 1/2 tablespoon measuring spoon. So don't get too confused by that. I can update the recipe to make it easier for everybody too. So 1.5 teaspoons.
Yeah, that's a good, a lot of times, you know, when you're baking, you want to have a recipe. It's a good one to keep in the memory bank. 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. And the ginger is next. We have our cinnamony flavor. We have our gingery flavor coming through. So this is that nice, chewy molasses cookie that is gingerbready, but softer. And this is one of my holiday favorites.
How much ginger?
Let's make sure we're all done with the cinnamon first. Are we all ready to go ahead with the cinnamon, with the next ingredient? Thumbs up if you're ready.
It looks like it, Jazz. We're ready.
Awesome. So we're doing 1 teaspoon of the ginger. Make sure we're wiping down our spoons in between using the different spices, especially with the baking soda. 1 teaspoon.
It looks to me like everybody's ready.
And the next, awesome. The next item is your cardamom. So I don't have cardamom, but you need half a teaspoon of ground cardamom. If you're using nutmeg, I would put 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, because you don't, nutmeg can be very overpowering.
Can you wait, please?
No. We have a question?
I think they changed their minds, but feel free to ask if you do have a question.
Of course, feel free. If you're using a cayenne or a chili powder, I would use 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you are using allspice, I would use 1/4 of a teaspoon. Or you can just omit. And once you have everything in the bowl, you're going to grab your whisk.
The other,
What's the substitute for cardamom?
If you don't have cardamom, you can not use cardamom. You can use pumpkin spice. You can use 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin spice. You can use
nutmeg.
If you use nutmeg, you're going to use 1/4 teaspoon. There we go. What did we use cardamom?
1/2 teaspoon.
I'm gonna put
1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. If you're using allspice, you're doing 1/2 teaspoon. If you're doing a spicy chili, you're doing 1/4. If you're doing, I think that was all of them. And then once you have it all in the bowl, you want to grab a whisk and mix until all of your flour is well incorporated. As you can see, I've been mixing this whole time. And you're gonna go over and under, and you're gonna see the color change. And once these spices incorporate into the flour, it's gonna start smelling very festive, at least in this bowl.
Smells so good.
Okay. I'm gonna give you guys another minute to mix. Another 30 seconds, okay? Okay, bowls aside. Now we're gonna grab our larger bowl, or your other bowl. And this is the bowl we're gonna use to work on our wet ingredients. So usually when you're making a cookie, there's always a pattern. You put all of your dry ingredients together, then you put all of your wet ingredients together, and then you mix your dry ingredients into your wet ingredients, okay? So our wet ingredients are, we're going to be working with our butter. You can just pour your butter right into the large bowl. It should have been 4 ounces. 4 ounces is 1/2 of a stick of butter. Next, we are going to grab our brown sugar.
Hold 1 second.
Yes.
Hold on. The recipe said 1/2 cup of butter, which is 8 tablespoons.
Yeah, it does. I think it's supposed to be a stick of butter.
Oh, a whole stick of butter. Okay, a whole stick of butter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. The next item is our brown sugar. If you just reach for your brown sugar and you realize it's a little bit clumpy or hard, then you can pop it into the microwave with a damp paper towel around it. You're going to use 2/3 cups. And this is a little bit more math for you because we don't have 2/3 cup measurements. So we're going to use 2 1/3 cup measurements, okay? And when you're measuring brown sugar, you always want to make sure to pack your brown sugar into your measuring cup, nice and tight. And you know it's packed really well when it can just easily come out and form into a shape and hold its shape in your hand like this. So this is 1/3. I'm going to crumble it and put it into my bowl.
How much butter are we supposed to be using?
The butter, you should be using 1/2 cup, which is 1 stick of butter.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So with our brown sugar, once you scoop it, you might, or pour it, you might need to do more. So this is packed down and you want to make sure that you get to the top. So you may have to go back a few times.
So far in our bowl, we have our butter and we have our brown sugar.
Just as a reminder, the butter should be melted, since somebody had just asked about that. So make sure you melt your butter first before adding it.
And our next item, are we ready to move on or do we need another minute for the sugar?
Thumbs up if you have butter and brown sugar in your bowl. Okay, I'm seeing a lot. Sorry if I missed you, but I think we're all good, Jazz.
Okay. And our next item is going to be our molasses. So the thing about molasses is it's very sticky, right? It's more sticky than honey. So if you guys want to just watch me demo this for a minute, I will show you the best way to scoop your molasses. The measurement for this is 1/2 cup of your molasses. So I have my 1/2 cup measuring spoon. I'm going to spray it with oil. This is regular canola oil. This is a spray one. You can use any oil in liquid form as well. And I'm going to pour it in, 1/2 cup. And now when I pour it out, you will see that not only was that easy, but nothing really stayed in my measuring spoon. So this is a 2-step. You could either pour a little bit of oil into your measuring spoon and then pour in your molasses, or make sure you go in with a spatula or even your finger to get out all of this extra molasses. So that's 1/2 cup.
I like your cut, G.
Excuse me? Did we have a question?
I'm not sure. Somebody just muted again, so. Oh, I see a hand raised. I'm not sure what your Zoom name is, Al Rashid. Do you have a question? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So what happens if you use white sugar? Will the color change or something?
White sugar, so yeah, the color will be a little bit lighter. The brown sugar is gonna give it a little bit more of a, like what we're going for is like a molassesy kind of flavor, but you can still use your white sugar. Your cookie is gonna be a little bit different. If, for instance, you didn't have molasses, but you had maple syrup or you had honey, you can also use those. So what you're doing is making your own cookie in your own manner, because it's your kitchen, it's your world. You can do whatever you want. So I'm curious to see if you guys are using a white sugar, how your cookie turns out, because I know it's still going to be delicious, but it's going to be your new signature holiday cookie, I'm sure. And please send us photos. Do we have any other questions?
No.
Okay, so our last item is we're going to add some vanilla. And that's half of a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
I'm sorry, how much?
Hello.
Half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon.
Hi.
And then we're done with these guys. This is going in.
Okay, so in your bowl, you should have melted butter, brown sugar, molasses, and vanilla. Okay, that's what should be in that second bowl.
Are we all in? Thumbs up. So now we can just give this a nice little whisk. We're going to incorporate all of our wet ingredients. So give it a mix. I'm adding my butter, my little extra bit of butter that I forgot before.
This class is the best.
All good to go.
I'm glad to hear that.
Stop. Buddy.
And this should be a really deep color. If you have any brown sugar lumps, you're going to want to break those up because you don't want to bite into a sugar clump and hurt your tooth. We're just going to give that a really nice mix. And I'm not only mixing it in a circle, I'm zigzagging back and forth to make sure everything is nice and broken up and incorporated.
Okay. And for the person who's using white sugar, you'll probably see that your mix isn't too different than ours since you have all that molasses in it. It might be a little bit lighter, but the molasses is what's really going to make it this deep color.
Now we can put our whisks away. We can tap out whatever is still hanging out on here. I love eating cookie dough, but this isn't the cookie dough that you want to eat while it's still raw, even though it's tempting because it doesn't have eggs in it. What we're gonna do is, it tastes way better once it's cooked. We're going to now mix. We're gonna get our smaller bowl. We have our larger bowls in front of us. We're going to use either a spoon or a spatula, and we're going to add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients and give it a mix. And you're gonna wanna go over, under, and it's gonna look like it's not gonna absorb, but it is. And if you wanna get in there with your hands, you absolutely can after you mix it a little bit first with the spatula.
Yep, that's what I ended up doing the first time we made this. Mix it as much as you can with the spatula, and then it might be like a little bit crumbly still, where you can just take your hands and push it all together.
This is where I'm at now. It's getting there. It's starting to look like that gingerbready kind of color, that gingerbready consistency. We're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. This is a nice little arm workout too, which I appreciate.
Right, and as Chef Jazz mentioned,
into a stand mixer, you can do that too. I just like doing it old school in the bowl. Excuse me, you had a question?
That's dishes. No, that was just me. I was just going to reiterate how to be mixing, where Chef Jazz said in the beginning, make sure you're getting underneath too. So that's where, you want to make sure you get it all incorporated. So make sure you're getting everything.
You want to make sure you don't have any. Now I'm at this stage and it's starting to have less and less white and be more and more incorporated. Now it's like one nice big clump in my bowl.
I'm now at the part where I want to use my hands. I can't get it to stick together anymore, so I'm just kind of like pushing all the dough together. And that's kind of fun too, because it's like playing. So I like using my hands when cooking.
So here is how my dough is looking right now. I can pick it up, it all stays together. You don't want to play with it too much, but you want to make sure that all of the dough is all the same color, the same shade. There's no little white parts of flour on it anymore. And it's a nice little dough baby.
How is everybody's dough? Does anybody have it all together yet that you can lift out like Chef Jazz did? I see somebody. Yeah, good. Who is this? Theodore, good job. And Ariana, nice. Ariana, again, 2 Arianas today. Good job. Yes, I see a hand. Al Rashid. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes. So whenever you're done like making the dough into like a circle, do you bake it? I mean cookie shapes?
So here are your options. If you don't want to make your cookies right now, you can take this dough and put it into the refrigerator for later when you do want to make them. If you want to do a little taste test right now, then I would continue cooking along, and we're gonna next form these into balls, roll them into sugar, and then these can get baked off. The dough in your fridge can last about a week, and this should make 24 cookies.
24?
So that's a lot of cookies, right?
Yes.
So you can freeze it for later. You can, you know, share it with a neighbor.
Sure.
I'm sure you'll figure out something to do with 24 cookies. You could also make them into the balls like we're about to do, and then put them on a tray like this, and then freeze them, so that if you want to eat cookies every day for the next month, you have one cookie every day. So those are all of your options. How is our dough looking, guys?
The ones I can see so far look really good. Good. See Wiley's. I see Kate's, Henry's, Issa. I'm getting a thumbs up from. I already saw a bunch of other people who showed them to me earlier. I think everybody is actually ready for the next step from all the doughs that I can see. Oh, who has a question?
Heather.
Oh, where are you, Heather? There you are.
Oh no, I was just saying I needed a few more minutes. It's still a little, like it's not
there yet. Keep going. Coming though.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the heads up, and thank you, Heather, for asking your question. So let's see also Laura.
Soon you're going to be able to just grab it and it'll clump and hold its shape, but you're right there.
It will also like come. Oh, sorry. Does somebody else have a question?
This is mine.
Allie, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, can you raise it up a little bit more so I can see it in the camera? Awesome. Okay, so it still looks like yours might need to come together a little bit more too. Try patting it together. So that way you can
you want it to look like this, Allie. So you want it to be able to like hold its shape and be all together like this. So you might need a little bit you need to just keep working it a little bit, and soon how your dough is, you can just pick up a clump of it and hold it in your fist really tight, and it'll hold its shape. You're right there.
It's still really sticky. Should I add a little bit of flour, or should I just leave it? And I mean, it holds.
Sticky?
See, it sticks. It kind of breaks when I try to move.
Can you smush it though? If you smush it together, will it hold its shape?
Yes.
Okay. Is your kitchen really hot right now?
A little bit, yeah, because of the oven.
Okay, so you might want to let it chill in the fridge or freezer. Freezer's faster. For a minute.
Okay.
This cookie, what you can do is I normally would roll it into a log and put it into the fridge. You can use this cookie for your gingerbread. If you want to make a gingerbread man with cutouts, you can use this same dough. Okay, so if you want to decorate cookies and do gingerbread and you have the cookie cutter, I see some smiles. At this point, you can roll it and put it into the fridge for like an hour to chill, because you need your dough to rest if you want to make a gingerbread cookie. So this I would put in plastic wrap and put it right into the fridge and maybe smush it down a little bit and then do that. Okay? If we're still here, guys, I have my parchment on my cutting board, on my sheet pan. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab our cookie cutters, what are these called? Kelly? Cookie shaper, cookie cutter, cookie things. We're going to grab these guys.
Sorry, I was on mute and couldn't help. Cookie scooper.
It's okay. We're gonna grab it. We're gonna scoop it out.
You can say it. Portion scoops. It's another word for it.
We're gonna roll it. And we're gonna start a little assembly line, okay, of these. You could also freeze them like this and put this, you know, wrap it in plastic and put it into the freezer if you want to just have like 24 perfectly shaped out little cookie balls for your future self.
So also, I don't know if you said this yet. I know that not everybody's going to have a cookie scooper. So you can use like a heaping tablespoon. So a tablespoon measuring spoon and scoop out something like that. Or just use a regular spoon and just try to be as consistent as possible with the same amount. And then roll it in your hands.
Are we supposed to be dipping it in sugar or something? I thought she mentioned that.
That's the last step. That's also optional. But just for like the sake of the most efficient assembly line, what you would want to do, like especially if you're making 1 million cookies in a restaurant kitchen, you would want to shape out all of your balls and then you'll roll them in the sugar. And the sugar is also optional if you don't want additional sugar.
How much do they expand? How far should they be apart on the sheet?
These, well, it depends on what size shape, but if you chill them first, they won't expand that much. Like this, I would do 6 to a regular size sheet pan. And when you put them on your sheet pan, you want to scatter them a little bit so that they're not like 3 and 3. You want to do like 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. If you were watching, you understand what I just said. So you want to scatter them a little bit so that
I need them without. Sorry. I need them without chilling, and they also don't expand that much. So I have this large cookie sheet, and I was able to fit at least 12. So 1 inch or 2 between each. They definitely won't expand and stick together. And then I see Allie has a question. She says, if it's sticking together, do you need to add something?
If the dough is sticking together, let me see your dough.
Actually, it's actually a little crumbly.
It's crumbly.
So it's not sticking together. Some of it is, but what could we add?
Let
so
me
if
see.
you scoop it though, even if it's not sticking together in the bowl, can you squish it together in your hands and make it stay together?
Some of it, yes.
Okay.
There's still some, I don't know if we're going to be able to do the whole thing, but we could do enough.
We do the full measure of the 1/2 cup of the molasses and the 2/3 cups of the sugar and the 1/2 cup of the butter.
Right, we did.
Okay.
Molasses, there might have been a little left in the cup.
Okay, that might have been it. That might have been it. I would say you can start scooping and see where you go, how far you can get. It shouldn't make that huge of a difference because I've worked with this dough when it's been on its like crumblier side and it came out fine.
Okay.
So if you want to like if you want to test like 2 first and see how that goes,
okay,
you can try that as well.
I'm trying. Okay, thank you.
The other thing, Jazz, is like, do you think chilling it would help at all? So if you don't get it to stick together, maybe try chilling it in the fridge in between.
You could try chilling it as well, yeah. If anything, your doughs are probably a little bit like extra, like mine is a little bit extra shiny, a little bit extra wet right now because at this stage you can normally just chill. Did we get a question in the chat just now?
Yes. Just confirming that this should make about 24 cookies. So 2 cookie sheets is the question?
Yes, 2 cookie sheets if you're using like a 1.5 cookie scoop.
I typically do mine in like 2 batches, but if you have 2 cookie sheets on hand, you can set those up already. And if not, just put the extras like on a plate or something.
So I have my my half of a dozen right here. And I just want to quickly show you guys, while you're still forming your balls, how to sugar your cookies so that you can have an idea. Because I think from here, we're going to let you finish these off by yourself unless you guys have additional questions. So I have my cookie. I'm rolling it. I'm going to plop it into the sugar bowl. And I'm going to just roll it around.
And Jazz, we didn't put a measurement in that recipe because it's not really an exact measurement. About how much sugar did you put in your bowl?
I put like a quarter of the bowl. Just enough that you're not going to waste a bunch of sugar when you're done doing this.
And you can always add more.
Yeah, you can always add more, but you don't want to be wasteful. So now we have a nice little sugary cookie baby right there.
Okay, so if you have multiple people and you want to have one person roll the dough, one person roll it in the sugar, you can do that, or you can just do one at a time and roll the dough and then roll the sugar. So I've got my full 12 on my pan.
And this is the type of cookie that the thinner it is, the closer it'll get to like a classic gingerbread cookie. If you do a little thicker, like how these are, you'll have that chewier bite, which I like. These should go in the oven for 8 minutes. If you're making a smaller cookie, you'll want to do less. If you're making a bigger cookie, you want to do a little bit more.
Temperature on the oven?
350.
Minutes in the freezer. If I'm not going to do gingerbread, I'm just going to do them rounds, but they were really sticky. 10 minutes is enough, right?
Are you going to round them out like this?
Yes, just regular cookies. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's still the same. Your question is it the same amount?
No, 10, because you told me put it in the freezer to let it cool since my kitchen is warmer. 10 minutes is good enough?
Yeah. That's a good amount. Just need to get it a quick little cold.
Quick question on the gingerbread piece. So if you do want to refrigerate them and make like the gingerbread cookie shape, do you need to roll the dough out or can you just pat it flat and cut it?
Let me show you. Let me grab a plastic.
Okay.
So if you're doing the cookie dough, classic gingerbread shot style, I'm taking the rest of my dough. The rest of my dough. I'm going to roll out some parchment.
Okay.
I mean some plastic wrap.
Plastic or parchment? Plastic, right?
I would do plastic if you want to, so you can, once you see, you'll get what I'm saying. Okay. I would do plastic for this one because you're going to make your little shape, like a square rectangle shape, kind of flatten it out. And then you're going to, like a pie dough, you're going to just wrap it. And then wrap it, and then use a rolling pin. I'm using this because I don't have my rolling pin out, to just roll it into the shape so that you don't have any air bubbles sticking out. And then now this would go into, into your fridge or freezer if you're on a time crunch, but don't forget it in the freezer.
Okay, great.
It looks like kind of like poop.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you wanted to do round cookie logs, you would take these guys. These are all I have left. You would take these guys, make them into a log. This is how I normally eat them. I'll take them, I'll roll them into a log, and I'll put them into some parchment, and then roll the parchment like a sausage. And basically, if I show up at your house and I have this in my hand, we're best friends. Because this means that we're gonna just go home, we're just gonna turn on our ovens and eat a dozen cookies and watch TV. So these are your ways, and then you just slice this as thick as you want. So these are your different ways to preserve your dough and to just bake it off as needed. Does anyone else have a question?
So I just want to show everybody, these are my cookies fully coated in sugar. So Chef Jazz showed you how to roll them, and they're completely coated all the way around, right? And then when they bake, they're gonna get like nice and crackly looking and really, really yummy. So I love to also do a picture of everybody's almost finished products. If everybody has a tray of cookies, do you want to hold them up for the camera to take a picture? Wait for everybody to get in there. If you have your dough in the chilling, you can show us your dough, or you can just smile for the camera. So if you're in it, oh, sorry, I don't want to see everybody's names. Just give me a second. There we go. All right, here we go. Taking a picture. Ready? 1, 2, 3, big smiles. Cheese. Nice job, everybody. They look fantastic. So are there any more questions about what we're doing? So we're baking, if you're putting them in the oven like this right now, you can bake for 8 minutes.
At 350.
8 minutes. Yep. Are there any other questions about what to do next? I know there's a lot of different, everybody kind of has their own path today. Any questions? Okay. I don't see any more questions, Chef Jazz. Do you have anything else to leave us with before we say our goodbyes?
No, that's all. Thank you guys for inviting us into your kitchens to cook with you today. I know I had a blast. Kelly looks like she's having a good time, about to go, make the dozen cookies. And until next time, please send us photos. I would love to see how your cookies come out, and have happy holidays.
Yeah, and I just also want to mention too that I think I said it maybe in the email, and if I didn't, I will, that you can also freeze them when they are baked. So I'm going to do that myself for whatever I can't finish in the next few days will come to Christmas celebrations with me. So freeze them uncooked, freeze them cooked, share them, eat them all, do whatever you need to or want to do. But again, thank you everybody for joining us. Happy holidays. We'll see you in the new year.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.